Alright, so what did you see with these kids? I gave them just the words that you see there. And I did not give them any instructions. I told them it's on a hokey pokey song, and I said this. Eventually I had to tell them you have to go in a square because the teacher didn't even realize that they are busy with the coding. They thought just was a song. And they love dancing, so they interpreted all their own ideas. But if you don't give correct instructions, that we will do here today, if you don't give the correct instructions, you will not be able to get the correct program. Now, because we are working with magnetic pieces and codes, there's no way that you can execute it and see that you do it correctly. So there is a way that you can find it out, but as a teacher, you need to be able to know exactly what they're writing and let them walk it out and see, is that what they really meant to do. So everything that we are doing in amaKhodi is going to be use your whole body to work out. You are the little thing in the program. Like you see there's those robots at the back and in the classroom next door. If you press the button, that little robot will perform the functions. Now your kid in your class will be the little robot, and you need to set out the codes for them, and they need to walk it out and let the classroom decide that they execute it correctly or not. So that is how we are going. So we are going to become this little code inside a computer. Right, if you understand that, then this whole story will make sense to you. Now, let's just start with a couple of questions. Now, I got answers on the song. What is a code, or what is coding, and why should we need to learn that? Who wants to be the first one to answer that?
Well, we need to know what it is to use everything that that you delivered the other day.
Yes.
So that's why we need to find out.
Okay, what is a code? Let's start with that.
It's a set of instructions, or is it an instruction?
Instruction, yes, set of instructions, yes.
To accomplish, there's a instructie om op die ou einde een of ander uitkomst te kan hê.
Yeah.
That's right. How many of you did some coding this morning?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. Where did you do some coding today? I know you. So I'm putting some up.
Oh, finding our way here.
Finding your way here.
Just getting up this morning.
Getting up this morning at home. Your routine from getting up to when you can climb into the car. As a teacher, you code your children every day. Do this, do this, do this, and do the correct sequence. When you do maths, when you do spelling, you code them. Even would say your discipline. Sit still, now you may play, now you may do that, now you may eat. That is a code that you give them. It's a set of instructions that we do every day, the whole day. Your whole day is about coding. Now, when people started to ask about coding in school, they said, I cannot do that, it's difficult. But we are already doing it. He did it yesterday, making his first condensed milk tart. Now, that's a set of instructions when you follow a recipe. When you do GPS on your cell phone, it's a recipe, it's a set of instructions that you follow. So what we're going to do there, all these books, all these boxes that most of you have at your school and some of the schools will have soon, is a set of instructions, and but we do it through a game. We don't want the children to become anxious about this, because the moment that they get anxious about coding, they have, the kid is out for drawing and they don't take anything in. So we are going to have some fun and play with it. Alright, so we'll always start with coding. I want to go back and hand you out these ones. Just take one and send along. I think it's one per school. I can't remember if I have one. So if you are 4 people in a group, that's one for you. Unless you have extras, because there's one gentleman from Rustenburg that's not here. So we can share where possible. Can I have one for myself, please? That's fine. Just send me back one. I know that because mine looks a little bit different than yours. I just have on your car as well. So, coding is also, your DNA is made of codes, your puzzles, everything is made of codes. So, on this first page, you can just read through and see what coding is all about, and just use it in your life and know when you're starting with that, where it all comes from. It is nothing to be scared of. Right. When I start in coding or with my robotics classes anyway, the brain in robotics and the brain in coding is very important. Why would you think that I have to stand still for a while with the brain in coding? Why is the brain in this process important? Why don't I just jump in and say, this is how we do coding and let's just get on with it? Why do I start with the brain?
You need to think logically about what it is you need to do, how, when, and everything else, how it's going to happen.
That's what it is. And?
The brain tells your body what to do.
The brain needs to understand the instructions that it can complete the instructions, yes?
The brain is in charge of processing the information received in order to carry out the sequence of instructions.
Yes. Now, yes.
Okay, I think to understand and also to calm the mind to make it ready to receive
Yes.
the information.
That's the most important one. Everybody knows we have to complete instruction, but to receive the instruction, that's where most of the children are having difficulty. And that is where this box will come in. If you do have Lego, you are more than welcome to use the Lego as well. But when I do work with coding in the brain, or any function in the brain, you need to understand how the brain works. Now, I believe if you have it in your books, if you have your brain in front of you, there are 4 compartments. I know there are psychologists that say we mustn't actually focus on which brain is the active one or the dominant one. We don't have to put children in their brain's areas, because then they will only function in that one and don't want to do the other one. I just want to tell you where everything comes from, because we want integrated children when we're done with the coding at the end of the year. We want them to be able to use everything that is available to them, even if it's not the dominant side. So if you look at your brain, there are 4 lobes. You have the occipital lobe here at the back, you have the parietal lobe at the back top, you have the frontal lobe in front, and you have your temporal lobe on the side. Now, in your occipital lobe is where you find your vision and your visual interpretation. And that is what we will do when we do our amaKhodi part that's on the back side here, that you'll go play games with later on, is your visual interpretation and visual spatial orientation as well. In your temporal lobe is your short-term memory, because you hear things and you need to understand your receptive language. Somebody said you need to receive, I think you said it, what you receive is going into your short-term memory. And then your parietal lobe is your sense of touch, differentiation, size, shape, color, spatial orientation, all those things. And that is when you put these boxes in front of them. They need to be able to feel it, they need to touch it, they need to play with it. And that's why I asked you in the beginning, feel free to enjoy yourselves, touch things. She already opened the box to see what is inside. Explore. That opens up your parietal lobe for the sense of touch. Now, all the information that all the input that you get will combine in where the 3 lobes connect. And from there on, with a neural network, it will be sent through to the front. Now, what happens when there's something in that brain happening to stop information to go to the front? I had a teacher at my other school. I did another school 2 weeks ago for their training. And when I got to this one, now she's a lecturer at the Northwest University herself. And she's an HAD for my school. And she said, all the things that she said, it doesn't go through. But she didn't understand why it doesn't go through. And that evening, we had our parents' meeting. And there was another gentleman for the soccer team that was supposed to introduce the soccer to the parents. He was standing there, and I said, but it's on the tip of my tongue. But under stress, those words that he is working with that every day just couldn't come through because of the stress. And it happens with me a lot. It happens with my son a lot. It's just part of everyday life. Under stress, words don't come through. Now the reason for that is just between the frontal lobe and the parietal lobe, there's a fissure of Rolando. And there's a chemical substance being excreted that you cannot, that information in your short-term brain cannot go through to the front that you are able to speak it or to write it. Right. So that's when it's on the tip of your tongue. Just at the moment that you're in a room next door, you're 5 minutes after that, you drink coffee, light bulb moment, here it comes through. The moment that your stress goes down. And that is why we want to play with the children before we even start with my coding. You get them to sit down, relax, have fun. And there are 2 storybooks full of stories for the end of that you start with. It's not the resources, there's another one somewhere. So you have 2 storybooks that you take for 3 terms. Depends on how fast you work, 3 terms, 4 terms. That you go through and you build it with them. What you do is you sit down, get them in a circle around you, just like the children always do when you are in front of them. You read a story, and that's part of the brain impress that we all going through with the games now. Get them to be calm, and when they're calm, information get in, they need to be able to explain it back to you afterwards in sequence, and they have to build it. If they can do that, then they are ready for all the other work that we continue there. So many people think art storytelling is building, it's a waste of time. It is not. When they can do that, their brains are open and they can function and they are ready to receive instructions for the next level. Right. So that is why my brain is really important. And there's another one. So those are the four lobes for all the sensory inputs and why it doesn't come through to the front. But if you have your left and your right brain, how does that work in coding? You said logical. I'll leave you in a minute.
Because you're doing it physically, both of your parts are being intertwined and the midline is
Crossover,
fusing,
midline crossing.
That's how you bring both brains together.
Yes, that's true. If we look at the coding part, now this is my step-by-step instructions. This is my whole brain. I just give them a problem to solve. So in a classroom, they will get used to both of them. And there will be times that it will look like this. And it's also be just a set of instructions, but eventually it will look like this. But you may not see that set of instructions yet. Sorry. It's falling apart. So this one I'm going to read. I don't think I put it in yours last night. I only thought about it very late. So your left brain will be linear functions. It will go step by step. You need instructions to say, step 1 is that, step 2 is that, step 3 is that. You need to follow a recipe in the correct order. That's your left brain child. Your right brain child will want to see the picture and he will go backwards and he will follow his own ideas there. Your left brain one follows the sequences. And that's what we do at the back here. Your visual and auditory discrimination. There are lots of sequences in there. Now, coding is just about sequencing. So you will hear throughout all the books that we are doing here, it is lots of sequencing. If your sequence is incorrect, your direction will be incorrect. So if a GPS is not in the correct sequence, going from there to there to there, you are not going to find your place. Your right brain one don't want to have a specific order. I have kids that now there plates, the children's plates, will look like this. And theirs will be all over the place. They will put one there, then one there, and wherever they have a space, they will put in the next one. You cannot read that code at all. So they have no definite order. Your left brain reads symbols easy. Letters, words, coding symbols, they don't have a problem with that. But your left brain child wants to play with the concrete stuff. As long as they can put their hands in the box, then they are happy. Alright, your left brain child wants to do problem solving. You give them a problem, and they will ask you 10 questions until they can solve the problem. So their hands are always the one going up, up, up. Is it this? Is it this? And they have so many questions, you can sometimes get irritated if you have a bad day. Especially at the end of the year. But they want to have instructions, and they will do the sequences there. Where your right brain child will say, think about maths at school. I know the answer, but he cannot give you the idea on how to get there. He has intuitive feeling that this is correct, but don't ask me how I got there. Right. Your left brain one is like a GPS, you give specific instructions. Where your right brain child, think about giving it directions. Go up one block, and then you turn to the right, and then go all the way to the back. They are visually interactive with their body. That's your right brain child. Where your left brain will say, 2 blocks, turn to the right at the BP station, he will give you exact commands on how to do that. And my left brain child will have real life stories. If you look in the books that we will do later on, stories about the school, about the hospital, things that they can think and that's realistic. Where the right brain children will have all the fantasies. They will do their own stories, and they will put a mousetrap in there and say that the bee needs to go across the mousetrap. They will think anything outside the box instead of just following the correct directions. They just fantasize. I can remember when Peter told the children stories at night. Peter was laughing crazily about all the dragon stories, and Michelle got all the real life stories, and later on she blanked me and said, I wanted to have stories like my brother had as well. So she got the real life stories because I'm left brain, he's right brain, so he fantasized, and that kids just have a ball of fun at night. So in your classroom, make sure that you can do both sides of the stories because you have both children in your class. Have a balance between your stories. So what I always do is, I start with the left brain to get those children to settle down, and then we add the extras to get the creative juices flowing. So that's where the obstacles come in, and then I can put in, we have done this one day, so you guys that wants to do the fantasy side, what can you put in there to make it interesting? Make sure that both sides get their stories. So that's my part of the brain that we do. Any questions about how the brain is important in robotics? Left brain, right brain, all 4 lobes, all the different senses. Do anyone of you have questions there? Nothing. All right. While we're busy with the brain, if a child is not happy, as I said, no information comes through. So part of what we do, I'm seeing that this is part of a life skills situation in school, but if I'm correct, it will be part of the life skills or the art points, if I understand it through the grapevine correctly. There are a lot of life skills involved in playing and what we do here. And it will be in your paper there at the back. It is about collaboration. Children need to learn at the table, they are usually working in groups of 2, that they need to share with one another. If they have a question, they can ask their partner what it is about. It is also about communication. Now, coding is the first part, or is a big part of robotics and engineering as well. So when you become an engineer and you need to go and tender for a bridge, for example, that engineer needs to be able to talk to the company and say, this and this and this is what I want to do. or when the children go to the robotics competition, they need to explain to the judges their whole project. So if they cannot talk under stress, they will not be able to sell what they have in front of them. So a lot of things that we do, especially in my Brainy Bricks part in the beginning of the session, is they need to be able to learn to sell what they have built. Selling marks. I have a little boy, last year he was in grade R. His mom is the HOD at the school. And when she came into my classroom, I wanted to explain to her something there, but this boy is this year in grade 1. He learned last year to, when he built something, he needs to come and tell me what he's built. And while his mom was there, he was now in grade 1, he brought his Lego project to me, can't remember what it was, and he wanted to explain to me. And his mom said, I am busy now, he must go and sit down. I said, no, I taught them to come and tell me. So it's his class time now, you can wait, and he needs to be able to tell me. So under any circumstances, if you teach him to tell you what it's about, you must always be able to have that freedom under any circumstances to come and talk to you. Right. The content, we focus on teaching them how to gain new skills and develop new interests. Throughout my stories, doesn't matter which part of the grade R to grade 2 stories, there are always different environments that I include. From biology to engineering to teaching, normal school, hospital. And there's on my e-learning website, I added another link with stories. There are just so many stories, I cannot put everything in a book. Especially if you are a different culture school. There are stories for you there. Most of my stories at the moment focused on where I give my schools. But there are stories for the other schools as well. If you, unfortunately, you that are Afrikaans, you need to translate the stories to them. It's easy to do. So we focus on the content and make sure they have a broad vocabulary to do that. Critical thinking is what we do with the content. It's taking a step back and reflecting on the information and how it can be used. If you cannot go and sit there, we have done this project and what did we get through doing this? You need to be able to sit down, break it down in steps and say, this is what we gained through that. You need to be able to tell them or show them how to get through everything. And because at the later stage, if they get a problem in maths or they need to write a story in grade 4 up for their Afrikaans and English, they just get a theme and they need to break down that theme. And that is what we're going to do here with them. Take a theme, break it down and put it back together again. Creative innovation, that's for our right brain children, we always take it further. If you build something, I will give you 3 steps of instructions for each lesson. They need to elaborate on that. Don't think if those 3 steps are done, that the lesson is over. If you have time, explore, expand, just have some fun with them to see what they do. I have children that come up with the most amazing pictures that I didn't even think about. So I just take photos and eventually it will be in the books as well. But your children are really, really creative. Don't let us, the bigger they get, the older they get, the creativity gets less. Because in a school situation, that instructions, it's now time to talk, it's now time to do this, it's time to do this, it's time to do that. You so put them into a box that they cannot think wider anymore. They miss their creativity. So whatever you do in your classroom, always keep that creativity. Let them explore, let them build onto it. And you'll see they're just amazing people. Right. On the next page that you'll see, I put my Brainy Bricks, my amaKhodi program into 4 different phases. Now this is basically for my grade R foundation phase. The first one will be where we start with my Brainy Bricks program. And that's where we do the storytelling and get them to be relaxed. My second part is where we will do the auditory and visual discrimination, second and third part. That is where you give them either the full picture, that's the one on the back, we're going to do that later on. You give them a full picture, they copy it and all those things. or you give them step-by-step instructions that they need to listen and complete the process. So those two are basically hand in hand. I had a little girl here with me. She's 9 years old. We don't know exactly what is wrong with her. She's not autistic, she's not ADHD, there's something else difficult with her. And if I give her just a picture, she will, doesn't matter which other exercise I give her, she will always just put the picture in place and she just remembers that. So I have to go with her auditory first, and so she doesn't know the picture, what she's doing. So depending on the children that you have in front of you, sometimes starts with visual and ends with the auditory one. Sometimes you start with the auditory one and you finish up with the visual one. Now remember, this is my grade R one. Now those books will be in here. I messed up my books already. All that information will be in your practical guide 1. So this auditory and visual information is there. We will go with it step by step just now. In grade 1, 2 and 3, you're going to repeat this later. Because revision and repetition is very, very important in coding. It's just like doing maths. You have to do it over and over and over again. So it will be there in your next levels but it will be most important to let them know in your grade R phase on how to do that. And you're going to do hands-on experience just soon. And my 4th level is where I do the coding part, and that's with this box that you have in front of you, where you're going to do your own codes later on. So this is the teacher's box that you can see from far, and your children will work with these small boxes. They will do their coding over there. Right. The bottom part is just a summary of all the things that you have from grade R up to grade 7. I think my junior is also there, grade 8 and 9 is also there. So that's just to say what we do in each grade. If you are done with your grade 3s and you want to go up to another level, like we do have people here that are basically in training now for the next level as well, that you can do there. Right. So that is my first part, and that's where I'll stop with that. Before I go on and let you do the interactive work, for my grade R, and I'm not going to focus on that, there is this field available. It's not a phonetical alphabet, it's literally the alphabet like you spell, and they have their pieces that they will code on. It's a picture, it always starts with a picture, and the color picture and the other one, that they have to code also in 3 pieces, just like I will do later on in steps of 3. Now when you go over to the bigger grades, you don't stop on 3 steps, but that's all that we want to do for the younger ones. They don't need to understand those long exercises. So for my grade R, I have this available. If you're interested, you can see that, look at that later on. Then I have, for any other age group, I have my maths and spelling. Because remember I said when you do become an engineer, or even if you guys in a teaching place, you need to be able to explain to your principal, you want to buy these sets. So you need to be able to tell him why you need it. So communication is important. So we have a box full of letters and exercise maths to make it easier. It will be the same as this quality and can be used over and over and over again. Currently it is only in Afrikaans and English, but if you can help me with other languages, 3-letter words and 4-letter words, we can incorporate that over here as well. So we can have a chat after this. So I can, because I don't know the other languages, I don't know which words to put in. So if you can help me with that, it will be really helpful. Then we can help the other schools as well. Now in my Brainy Bricks program, where you're going to start play with your playing parts. Most of you have only this little tub. And mine is pink and yours is blue, because I have to be different. There are 3 different tangrams inside. It's a circle and it's a heart. It's a circle and it's square. In your classroom, you will also be able to use this big box if you have bought it as part of it, because sometimes I love the children to have the bigger fields as well, to be able to do that, and not just the small fields. So I'm not going to concentrate on this big one now, but I would love to see that the children do the pixel art as well as the geo art when they do the story. Okay. Now, at the moment, you have all read the story about the square. I'm going to, oh boy, lucky you. One of them is supposed to have just a square and nothing inside. So I'm going to ask you to start with this one and find the pieces. Please do not mix up the boxes when you are close to each other. And let's see if you can find the correct colors to build it for me. Yeah. So I'll give you both now. I think there's one. Okay, please be careful. When you're close to each other, don't mix up my boxes. Right, let's see if you can build it. Okay, so it seems as if I put the big. Yeah, I must get that by now. Okay, let me set it also. Kijk even, ik heb dat genoeg gehad. Right. Wat happened to yours? Maak maar vinnig maatjies vandag. Julle studente, hulle maak altyd maats. Right, if you have done that one, we'll probably have the same one on the back. Now, the second one was supposed to be without any lines. So please scramble everything and build it again without looking at the picture. Just put it on any other place. Do not look at your picture and try to build it again without looking. Yeah, please shuffle it around and try to build it again without looking. And one picture is done. And just for your knowledge, I really struggle with this, so don't feel bad if you cannot do that. I should have given you this one first. Did you shuffle it? Yes, I did. What's my square? I guess it's a square enough. Good.
When I did this when I started one section side, I actually ended up with
Perfect. Perfect. Okay, anyone else that I want to tell me? No.
This is our learner and they're walking in the square.
Awesome. And
What is big gold one?
Wow, now this kid's missing an eyebrow.
That eye's in the wrong place.
The next two.
So if you don't have enough pieces, you just put something else in there and solve the problem so that you can jump over, because we do have a jump in there.
Ja, gebruik. Want deze mensen wil je.
I don't know.
We also need to find a way to reach your parents. Be able to
understand
let them play. We have so many activities.
Guys.